Funding for the production of Public Square provided by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, working to improve the lives of vulnerable children.
Welcome to Public Square, where civic dialogue takes center stage, where real people come together with leaders to discuss and help solve important community issues.
When I told my grandpa, I was like, well, we're going to have a baby, and he's like, oh, no, Hita, don't do that. You'll ruin your life.
Today we're talking about teen parenthood. Although it's getting better, New Mexico still has the nation's highest rates of teen pregnancy. For some real insight into this issue, we wanted to hear from teens themselves. So we've invited 12 young moms and dads to share their experiences. Many told us their lives were transformed for the better by becoming parents, but most also said they wish they'd waited longer. After we hear from them, we'll bring in some experts on this issue, Sylvia Ruiz from the New Mexico Teen Pregnancy Coalition, Dr. Winicha Burapa from the Department of Health, and State Senator Mark Boitano. Before we get started, here's a little bit about our topic.
New Mexico has one of the highest teen pregnancy rates in the nation. The latest figures show that 93 out of every 1,000 girls in New Mexico gets pregnant every year. Although that rate has been getting better here, it's been improving faster everywhere else. Experts say it's important to help teens wait to start a family for many reasons. For one thing, teen parents get less education and are more likely than their peers to live in poverty. Their babies are more likely to have complications at birth, to do poorly in school, to become teen parents, and to end up in jail. Teen mothers also end up earning less money than girls who wait until they're older to have kids.
What's up? Look at.
We all pay the costs of teen parenthood through the many public assistance programs that support them. The overall economic impact of teen parenthood is estimated at more than $500 million each year in New Mexico.
Remember what that is? What is it? First.
So who's most at risk? Experts say there are many reasons why some teens get pregnant and some don't. Those most at risk live in poverty and in single-parent families. They don't get enough support or supervision from family or other adults. They live in communities or families plagued by violence and substance abuse. And many don't feel connected to school or have big goals for the future. There are several things we know do work at helping teens wait to start families. Helping parents talk to their kids about reducing risky behavior. Youth development activities that keep kids engaged in school and in their communities. Comprehensive sex ed programs that strongly encourage abstinence, but also give straight talk about contraception. Making family planning services available to teens, and prevention programs for young men.
I think it's very important that people are aware of how hard it really is for us.
What I do right now is stay at home with my son. He's 7 weeks. Me and my boyfriend, we don't live together. We both live at our parents' houses, so it's hard because we have to go back and forth to see each other and see him. An ideal situation to be us living together, but it's hard because he only has a part-time job and I don't have a job, so there's no way it could work out like that.
I have a son, he's 10 months. I feel like, I'm doing well right now as a young father. Where I come from, most people don't have their dads, and most dads ain't there for their children. So I get a lot of respect for that, for still trying to be in his life. any guy could just, make a baby, but it's hard to actually sit there and be a dad.
Man, as a kid, you should be focusing your energy in school, extracurricular activities, doing kid stuff. You shouldn't necessarily have to be taking care of a kid while you're a kid. I've had to grow up a lot in the last year.
Tell me about your life, Tell me what's going on.
I want to be a mom November 19th. I'm still going to school. I'm at New Futures, and I'm in the 9th grade. My family is starting to be supportive. They weren't at first. They were more upset about it.
I would like the state and everyone to see that sometimes we put ourselves in bad situations. Us as teenagers, we put ourselves in bad situations, but that the community and parents and people who are there they're supposed to help emotionally support you, they need to be there.
I'm tired of hearing about stereotypical teen parents, and I don't think it holds true for people to hear of a teen parent, teen mother, teen father, and think that they're all the same, think that they're dropouts, think that they don't have a chance, and the mentality is low.
I feel like there's a lot of voices out there, and people with situations like mine and some of the other women and men in there that a lot of people don't get to say on camera. And I'm hoping if I could even reach one person, just to help them, it would be all worthwhile.
Let's talk about sex ed. How many of you just never talked about it at all with your parents? Most of you.
One of the main problems was that my mom, she wouldn't face the fact, all right, I've been in a relationship with a guy since I was 13, 14 years old. He's a lot older than I am, and it's going to happen. And she would ignore the fact. I tried to bring up birth control to her, and she blew me off. And I tried to get someone else to help me, my auntie to help talk to her about it, and she just blew it off. And it's like they just sweep it under the carpet, they don't see that it's reality because they don't want to see that. Because I wouldn't want to see that for my daughter, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to, and I'll be able to help her and prevent this for her.
Caitlin, what happened to you?
Yeah, no, I wasn't very educated at all.
So did you get any good information at school?
Nope.
So what would you change about that? What do you wish you'd had?
Personally, I think, because I didn't learn anything about that at all until I went to Independence. Before that, I was attending Rio Rancho and then Lincoln. And Lincoln, 6th grade, they did a sex seminar, which for some reason I couldn't go to. I just think that they need to make it more frequent and a little bit more up in your face. It's not like a blushing situation and all that.
You need to be real about it.
Yeah, it's just a real situation.
What should they say?
Use condoms. Or either that or abstinence, I don't know.
I learned more things from when I was locked up than when I was at school about sex ed, and it's just, kind of weird to say it, but it's true.
Lauren, what do you wish they had, somebody had told you?
My mom would have told me sooner, because my mom never talked to me about it, but my dad would just tell me to wait and not follow in my stepsister's footsteps. So they never talked about it.
I think that it's not just, have a condom or have a pill or else you're going to have a baby, but talk about when you do have a baby, how hard it is to raise a baby, have a child, you know what I mean? Before I went into labor at school, 2 days before my due date, and I didn't even pack my bag. I didn't have a nursery ready. I didn't have nothing ready because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the plan was. I didn't have a plan. And after I had my son, I didn't want to leave the hospital because I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't know if I was going to go to my mom's house, my grandparents' house, my boyfriend's house. And finally my mom's like, okay, well, you can go where you think is right. So I went to my boyfriend's house. And thank God for his mom because she set up everything. By the time we got there to the house, everything was set up and the room was warm and everything. But you don't even, for me, myself, personally, I didn't know what everything that a baby entitled. When they were like, oh, well, are you going to nurse? I'm like, no, that's gross. Why would I want to nurse? At first I was like that because my family didn't really have younger kids. I didn't have that many younger kids, so I wasn't exposed to nursing as something natural. And then my sister would go over and I'd be like, and then my sister's like, you're in front of his dad and his brother. And I'm like, well, they can look at me however I'm feeding my baby. So, it changes after that.
after the fact, but I don't think a lot of these kids in high school and these kids in middle school know everything that it comes with, know the cost of it, know like just everything, like how much time and effort and everything that it takes to raise a child under a good home.
Akeisha, what do you wish some grown-up had done for you?
I didn't really have grown-ups when I was growing up. I was just pretty much on my own. My mom passed away, so I was just like, so I started going into the drug scene, and then I got pregnant, and I was just like, and then when I told my dad, he was all mad at me, but then I was all thinking, like, you never really told me what to do when I was doing that, you know what I mean? You never told me how to use a condom or what are birth control. I didn't even know what really birth control was until after I had the baby, so I was just like, crap. But I wish they would have told me about it.
You are all either parents or about to be parents. What's the best thing about being a mom or being a dad?
Everything, having full-on conversations with my son, waking up to him, kissing me and telling him I love you.
What else?
I think a fun part is watching him grow. And I get real happy when my son says, Dad, you know, just speaking his words. It's amazing to me.
I don't know, the fun part for me is just like get dressed her up. I have her little jerseys for her. And then like I have matching jerseys and matching shoes and everything. So, you know, she's still little, I still try to put them on still.
One of the really rewarding parts, I agreed with Alexandria, is when you get woken up by kisses. The other morning my daughter grabbed my face and she was trying to give me kisses and I was still asleep. And I was like, what are you doing? And she starts making kissing noises at me. It was adorable.
And it's just the unconditional love. I've never had that before, and it's just like I come home. Once I come home, he comes running to the door and he's like, Mama, and he's just so happy to see me. So I could be like so tired or so stressed out, and just that moment that I see his smile, it just like lights me up, and it just makes me want to go even longer.
I think the best part for me is just when I pick him up, how excited he is just to see me, and he'll just run up to me, he'll give me a hug on my leg, or kiss me, and he's just the best thing I have to look forward to throughout my day.
Has it changed your relationship with your parents?
Kind of.
Yeah.
For me,
yeah.
How?
When I was younger, I wasn't thinking like how much she was really concerned about my safety and why, and like how much she was worried for me. And now I see my daughter and I'm like, oh, you're not doing that, I'm like, And now I understand more when my mom's like, call me when you get there, tell me where you're going. Now I understand why, so I can appreciate that more.
I think it's the same, but my parents have always been really supportive and they give me unconditional love, but they love my son so much. It's just amazing to see how happy they are with him. I actually think that it's made me and my parents' relationship stronger. I think it's made my whole family stronger.
That's a good way to look at it. I think it's harder because I still do live at home, and I have to realize she wants to be a grandmother too, but I get mad because she kind of overpowers the situations at times, and then it causes conflict between us. So
my mom's been the same way. She's always been there for me. She's all I've had, plus my grandmother, my aunties and stuff. But you kind of do see, like, when I wasn't realizing when my mom would be worried when I was out, doing all my stuff. And now that I think about it, that's why I've changed, because I wouldn't want none of that to happen to my son.
Now, I just think, why my mom would always be worrying about me so much, because I would just be getting in trouble and I wouldn't be thinking. And that's, I just want my daughter to go through what I went through, not having my dad or nothing. And just always seeing all kinds of, domestic violence and stuff. I just don't want that, for my daughter.
Have there been any things that have made your life more difficult?
Well, I wake up at least 3 or 4 times a night to feed him, so I don't get very much hours.
First, when he was born, it was watching the sunrise every day. I was like, just stare out the window. I'm like, the sun's gonna rise, the sun's gonna rise. Just waiting for the sun to rise so that way people would wake up and I wouldn't be just by myself, or they could help me out and stuff like that. So, it's just not that. It puts an obstacle within goals for some people. For me it did. It put an obstacle for me for school, because I'm an overachiever type of person. So instead of taking that 18 credit hours that I know I'm capable of doing and finishing college within
4 years makes me put it down to 12 credit hours and taking it a little bit at a time because I know that I have to maintain my relationship with my boyfriend, maintain a family, and I'm the only one working now, so working and going to school. So it's a full plate that you just have to take a little bit at a time.
In ways it has changed my goals to be better and so that I could positively contribute to society, but it's really been hard because I didn't think I was going to be a single parent. I thought that the father of my child was going to be able to be there with me, and I had the plan in my head. You know, I could work nights, he could watch her at night, he could work days, she could go to child care during the day, and I could go to school. It didn't work out that way at all. So I take care of her at night, take care of her during the day, 24 hours all the time, and she'll go to child care whenever I'm at school, and then during the night I'll put her to sleep, and then I do my homework all night long. I'll probably get, at most, probably like 4 hours of sleep.
I go to school. My boyfriend gets my son ready and takes him to daycare, and then he goes to school, and then I go to work, so I don't get home till like 4:30 or 5, and then we like make dinner and clean and everything, and then we put him to bed, and then we're up to like 2 in the morning sometimes doing homework. But it's hard because it's just like so strenuous on your life. It's some getting used to.
What do you miss about your own life?
Everything. Your body changed. Like really too much. And like your old life that you had. Going party, going out, drinking.
Before I had my daughter, it was kind of the factor of too much time, and that's when you kind of get involved in things we probably shouldn't. And now it's just not enough time. Even now, you know, if you get that one opportunity, you get a babysitter and you get to go out with your friends, I don't even enjoy it as much anymore. Can't hang. My friends are like, "You're tired already? It's only 11." I'm like, I gotta go home. I can't do it.
Ricky, do you miss your old life?
I don't. I think my son was the best thing that could ever happen to me. Because if he wasn't here, I wouldn't be in here right now. I'd still be out there doing a lot of bad things, like a lot of people are saying. It changes your goals, but it makes you set better goals for yourself. So I think having a child right now, for me, was one of the best things that could happen. And that's why I'm accomplishing so much right now, and especially getting through high school and staying out of trouble, and then also following a career, because I didn't know what I was going to do once I got out of high school. But now I got more of a straight head about it, and it's for my son mainly.
The only thing I miss is, like, before I had my son, just being able to go anywhere without having to worry about a babysitter or anything. Like, I used to go to the gym every day, and now I can't really do that. And if I do, I have to find someone to watch him, and sometimes that can get hard because I don't want to rely on my parents 24/7 to watch him or anything like that. But I don't think that I miss my old life because my son's my world. He's everything to me.
I think for me, I only hang out with people who are parents as well. I mean, the people who aren't, you know, they want to go out and party all the time. They want to do different things, and they just can't understand the dynamics of being a teen parent in general, so they kind of fall off.
Yeah. You find out who your true friends are really during this time. I mean, for me, I spend a lot of time with other teen moms because that's who I connect more with, and we kind of help each other out and can discuss anything and be like, oh, well, you know, I'm going through that same thing. How are you trying to get through that stage? And, you know, it just helps a lot.
Lauren and Leroy, do people ever give you dirty looks when you're walking around together?
Yeah. A lot of people stare at us because we're young.
Oh, I would hate it, and then, like, especially because I was pregnant, and then plus I have a short temper. So right away I'd be like, well, what are you looking at? Can I help you? Like, you know, because people would be like, well, are you pregnant? I'm like, well, what do you think? Do you think I just got fat overnight? Like, you know, like I would just get so totally upset when people would tell me that. I'm like, excuse me, like it's number one, it's none of your business. And maybe if you're the father, you could be asking me, but other than that, you know, like just mind your own business, and I hate that.
I used to get judged a lot. Or like when Pio was just telling me I was going to be a worthless dad because I was just so young, and then And now I'm just proving her wrong.
So what's going through your mind when you're like, I could get pregnant? Are you just like,
You don't think it's going to be you?
Or you think maybe, I've been with this person for a while, because I was with the father of my child for 5 years. I'm like, I'm going to be with him for a while, I'm going to marry him. Like, who cares if it happens? No way.
And then we're on the show talking about, all of this. The thought of having a second child right now, not saying anything bad to anybody who does, but, like, I personally couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
What kind of feedback do you get from your extended family? You guys, what do you hear from your family? What do they say?
To just stay in school and get done with everything that I can.
To graduate and be there for my baby and for Lauren.
My stepmother actually told me that my child was going to be become a disaster, and she was going to fail just like I failed in life. And then my sister, who is 26 years old, told me that my life was over, so she should be able to adopt my daughter. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
It was horrible.
Yeah, when I first found out I was pregnant, people were asking all my family, so she's too young to have a baby, so we can, we know some part of the family that can adopt the baby, because like my cousin or something like that, they can't have babies, so they're like, right away, we can adopt that baby because she can't handle it. And people would go and ask my mom, and they would ask his parents, but they wouldn't even like come and ask me, and I'm like I can do it. And then when I told my grandpa, I was like, so we're gonna have a baby, and he's like, oh no, Hito, don't do that, you'll ruin your life. But now he loves my son so much. He's like, when are you gonna bring my Hito down? I miss him so much. For my family and for my boyfriend's family, they love my son so much, and without him, it's like I don't know what it would be like.
There's so many good things about it.
Yeah.
And it does bring your family together. But would you have done anything differently? Made any different decisions?
I think I would have waited.
Why do you say that?
Because I had my baby when I was 14. That is like hella young. And then my dad, when I told him about it, he was just all like, another mouth to feed. And I was just like, no, I can do this. And then he was all trying to make me have an abortion. I was like, no, can't do that. So I had her, and look where I'm at now. I'm graduating high school this year. I'm going to show him wrong, because I haven't talked to him since she was born. So we'll see how it goes. When I'm graduating, I'll see what he says.
I probably would have waited also to see whether me and my baby's mother were not together. But I really wish we were, because it was easy. I was with her, and it's more easier being together and taking care of the baby than being, separated. But I think I would have waited to see how far along we would have went. If we would have still been together, and got older, then maybe, decided to have a kid.
I don't regret my baby, but the thing I regret is my baby's daddy. There's a lot of stuff that have gone on since I've had my son. But, they have made me so much stronger. So, I just love my son, and I wouldn't want anything different right now.
Anybody else have advice?
Best interest for the child is, both parents involved in the child's life, not just one. So, that's been my hardest issue.
I would just think for the younger generation to really think about who they're with, like partner-wise, if that person's really good for them, if they're good for the situation, because a lot of people, I know like myself, you think you're in the moment, you're like, oh my gosh, I love him, this is happening, and then you end up having a baby, and then you don't realize what kind of like people you have babies with until the real situations of life come out, and then it's a harder situation for your child and you and your family. So I would just think, if you are in a bad situation, find support to be able to get out and do what you need to do for your child, and if not, really make sure you love this person, and that's the person you want as the father or mother of your child.
And then graduate high school, and then get married, and then have babies.
Yes, then have a car.
And a job. And an education.
Now let's see what questions the students want to ask of the experts.
Should have a girl's house and a guy's house, but they should be younger teachers who the kids are going to be like, oh yeah, this person really does have sex.
Too early parenting affects all of us. in one way or another. It affects the whole community.
I have a 16-year-old daughter, 18-year-old daughter, and for me to think of them raising a child at that age and not be at cross country, not be at show choir, not be at school, not be at with their friends, it breaks my heart.
We know the statistics about teen births in New Mexico, second highest, about 4,500 births a year at a cost of about $550 million a year. That doesn't include the human costs.
In general, they are pushed into growing up quicker.
There's an educational component, there's an economic component, there's health care component, so absolutely there is an interest on the part of the state to look at this population and to ask the question, what can we do?
We know that male involvement, confidential clinic services, service learning programs that train parents and adults to speak and educate their children, their youth, about reproductive health. So those are the programs that work.
With community coalitions and parents and policymakers on making this a priority, likely we can solve this problem.
All right, now that we're together as a whole group, the young folks have come up with some questions that we're going to put to you adults. And the first one is going to come from Javier.
What are you doing to reduce the rate of teen pregnancy?
I have worked with Department of Health for 9 years as a medical director of family planning program. Reducing teen pregnancies, is a challenge. There's no secret for recipe for success. Education is the key. We hope to provide education at the time that you guys need it, either in school, either when, with your parents before you were becoming a teen, or you are, growing through teens, or with your partners, boyfriends, girlfriends, or as a one-on-one as a doctor.
Sylvia, everybody says we need more education, and these guys believe it too, but what are some of the barriers to that actually happening?
Some of the barriers to the education are funding in these difficult economic times, not having enough prevention education programs statewide, especially in some of the counties with the highest teen birth rates. Barriers are that when an adolescent, when a teen needs something, that they'll get it. So if they need a medical appointment, they'll get it that day. The department, unfortunately, is operating, at a huge deficit in terms of their staff, and so you can't always get an appointment with a nurse when you need one. But most importantly, when these young people need something, it needs to happen pretty quickly, because then they get discouraged, and the message is, well, I tried, wasn't there.
Senator, how much more do you think parents need to be doing?
Parents need to talk to their kids. I have a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old daughter, and we've had the conversation more than once. And I think kids need to know it's okay to say no. When you're with a boy, it's okay to say no. And it's actually cool to say no. I mean, if you decide you don't want to have sex and you're young, it's cool to do that. That's fine. I think kids need to have the freedom to say that. So, I mean, it's a combination of things. Policymakers, service providers, parents, families, and even all of you can help. We can work together as a team to reduce the rate of teen pregnancy, because the reality is you guys are a high-risk group. And despite the heroic efforts you're making, and God bless you all, you're a high-risk group.
Indeed, parents can do a better job. However, this is such an intimate issue. I'm not sure that parents have gotten the education they need about how to convey this information to their kids. I don't think our parents purposely don't talk to us. I think they want the best for us, but I don't think that they have what they need to be able to give the information. I mean, our parents love us. They want the best for us. But it's hard for us as parents to say, I really don't know. So I think helping parents get the right language how to approach you about this subject without shame or guilt. All of those things can go into making parents better able to educate their kids about this.
Kristen? So we all were talking and we decided that we're thinking that parents should talk to kids when they're about in 6th grade. So that's what do we say, 12? About 12 years old? What can you guys do to help parents get up the courage to really talk to kids? To really sit down and be real with them?
12 seems young, but apparently it's not.
There are kids that I know that are in 4th and 5th grade that are having sex and they know all about it. And then kids these days see the Teen Mom program, and they see those people have money, those people are stars, those people have their parents to be with them whenever they need them, and it's not like that. It is far from that. That is not reality whatsoever.
Senator, let me ask you, how old were your kids when you had the first talk?
Probably 13, 14. And
what does that talk consist of?
Well, and we have 2 boys, 2 girls. So my wife talks to the girls, and I talk to the boys. But I think a lot of parents are afraid to talk to their kids, and a part of it is they don't know what to say. But a part is our culture, and we live in a society where people are afraid to have an opinion, and so it's much easier not to have an opinion. It's much easier to say to say nothing than to say, what, smoking is a risky behavior. Taking drugs is a risky behavior. Having sex when you're a teenager is a risky behavior. So it's hard, I think, for a lot of parents. So I blame the culture. And I think a part of our job together, especially you guys who have been through it, and you speak very eloquently, very passionately, and I was very moved by your stories. Tell adults, listen, you need to have these conversations with your kids, and give them the permission to do that, because that's a part of the problem, I think.
Juanita, do you have some simple advice for parents confronted with a middle schooler who they really hope shouldn't need this talk?
I'm not sure parenting is that simple. However, when teenage year come, just like the senator said, we're all afraid. And as a public health, hopefully a practitioner, we like to set the stage for this talk to happen in different forms. Either when we try to approach the parents in the clinic visit, pediatrician visit, the talk comes up, maybe initiate you guys talk at home in the form of brochures in the public media and programs that I'm going to let Sylvia talk a little more about, Plain Talk or Hablo Claro.
So Gwen, there's some programs out there like Hablando Claro, Plain Talk, that actually trains parents about reproductive health, anatomy, physiology, reproductive health, contraception, and STIs. And it means using the correct words. It means learning about your body, your own body, and then not just contraception in terms of what's there, but what the side effects are, what the cost is, and where you can get it. STIs is critical because it's not just pregnancy. Our young people can get very ill these days if they don't protect themselves, and so there are programs out there that will train parents. There's some research that's been done by the national campaign that says and supports. Parents think that you kids aren't listening to us, but they are. They are. And it's parents who should transfer those values to their kids about reproductive health. So you talking to your mom, how do you feel about dating? When did you start dating? What kinds of things did you and Dad do? Really basic stuff around this issue. And I think Senator Boitano had an excellent point. This is an intimate issue, so our culture has chosen to pretend it doesn't exist, but it does. And so we need to be upfront and frank, use the correct terminology, and educate ourselves, parents, kids, about our own bodies and how to take care of them.
Many people found that dinner table talk is very important. Those are good quality time, and it's time that you have to sit down and eat anyway. it winding down, and food is a good media to start conversation. So,
Jessica, you have a question.
Yeah. What can you do to make sure that the state continues to fund programs for teens?
And we're talking in particular about, what were some of the programs you guys talked about?
Well, there's the GRADS program, and it helps teen mothers, and then there's a GRADS dads that helps the fathers. And at Independence last year, whenever I went there was teen dads, and they were trying to be a part of getting an education about how to be a father, what resources were out there, because they help them get jobs, and there's an advisor that helps them with anything they need. And there wasn't enough funding for them, so a lot of the dads, I just saw them decline horribly. And I don't understand why we're cutting fundings out of that instead of something else that we could cut funds out of that we don't need at all.
You probably hear this a lot, Senator, but
it's tough right now from the government end, but there are community groups, there are grants, there's private money, and I think we have to be more creative in terms of funding. And the Young Fathers Program, learning about skills development, communication, conflict resolution, gender differences. I mean, there's a lot of content, that the providers give to young couples. I think that's really, really helpful.
Ricky, you've got a question about some of the programs that are out there.
Yes. What can you do to make sure that people who need them know about programs that are out there?
Lauren, wasn't it you who said you didn't know that there were programs out there until
I got in trouble, and then a case manager, referred me to Teen Pregnancy Coordination. So,
Juanito?
Yeah, I was just thinking. It's kind of like this is challenging, particularly in the state of New Mexico, that we have majority of our communities are in rural and frontier area. I think that word of mouth are very important here in the state of New Mexico. When we survey our clients, over 75% said, you heard about us, which is public health offices and Title X family planning clinics, from word of mouth. So we sure rely on you guys, to look out for your friends, look out for your families, and start conversation.
Santana, this ties into your question, I think.
Okay. My question is, how come birth control is not accessible within schools? Kids in middle school and high school, whenever they start learning about sex and that kind of stuff, most of the time they're in school. Most of their days are spent. Most of their time within the day is spent at school. So how come that is not accessible to them?
To respond to that question, I want to take us back a little bit. Birth control is not the only way to prevent teen pregnancies and teen births. As you guys probably already, heard the message. There's a spectrum of things that prevent teen pregnancy. First, you've heard people say, and I still concur, that abstinence is the best method. So the question is, how are you going to be there at the right time when teens that chose to be sexually active chose to protect themselves? And school is one of the medium. And school also is a public place that reflect, your community's values and preference. For birth control to be available wherever it is, even in, clinics, it is depends on a lot of practice in the community, but it's certainly a good place to reach teens, and we have some communities that open to that.
Albuquerque is just not one of them.
We have local school board control in New Mexico, so you all know you have school board members who are elected to represent and make decisions in your school, in your schools, and so they actually make the decision about what's going to happen in your school. But certainly, speaking to your school board members about what you think is needed is important, so that they're not just hearing from parents. I mean, they need to hear from students as well, and so.
Senator, do you think birth control should be available in school?
I don't know. If they need birth control, they can find it some other place, but the schools aren't supposed to be providing those kinds of services to students.
Why?
Well, like the doctor said, it's a community decision. And if you talk to 100 parents in my district, the majority of them are going to say no. And so the school boards reflect community interests. Politicians like me talk to my constituents, and we represent them. So the community would say no. I think we need to enforce the message that abstinence is the best way to prevent STDs and to reduce or prevent pregnancy. And we need to enforce that message.
Since we talked about having New Mexico having the highest rate of teen pregnancy, and I remember when I was in school, they always said abstinence is the key. You know, don't have sex, and you know, like that approach has been taken, and things aren't the same as they used to be, and it's not the traditional way of our culture. And things, if you want change, you have to make change. So
what happens if there's a health class in school and kids are saying, oh, you know, well, I am sexually active? If they approach the teacher because they build a bond and they say, I am sexually active and you know, I need help. I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, and I don't know if it's a teacher's role to make those decisions. So I think the best thing to do is to connect with the doctor and the family. The best thing to do is to connect with the parents and the family and let them make that decision. But I don't think teachers and counselors and nurses on the school side, especially when they're dealing with minor children, that you have freshmen, you have sophomore, you have juniors that are minor children, and they shouldn't be making that decision. So you need to engage, you know, your extended family, your parents, your doctor when it comes to this.
Like that happen? Do you think that the teacher should be able to contact the parent and say, you know, well, this came up on subject, maybe you should brief this at home or something?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, like as in that situation, I remember me and along with a lot of the people, a lot of the other girls in school and stuff were afraid to go to the clinics because they didn't want to be seen by others saying like, oh my gosh, she went and got birth control yesterday. I saw her at the clinic. That's what she was doing. So that was because I'm from a smaller town. So I think if it is closer of availability to them, then they will take it more into consideration to go and get it. But for me, it was just an extra step.
I mean, do you think access, like let's say a 16-year-old, they're contemplating having a relationship with a boy. Do you think quicker access might make it possible for them to have the relationship quicker, or if it's more difficult to get access to contraceptives, do you think that might cause them to think a little bit more about it? Because I think that's really a question too, just is it a good idea to make it accessible? Because there's a lot of different kinds of kids. Some are already sexually active, some aren't sure. And I think it's a good idea to delay the experience as much as possible, and that's one way to do it.
If I have a condom with me and I'm not sexually active, then if the time comes and like, if it's there and I'm like, oh wait, look, I have a condom, I have it on me, or versus me just jumping in right in and being like, oh, you know, at the time or the moment or whatever you may say, versus totally being unprepared. It's a part of preparation, I think. Just because a student has condoms doesn't mean they're having sex.
It's always good to have something just in case, I think, because it's going to happen anyways. They're going to, like all of us said, we didn't think we were going to get pregnant. We thought that girl was going to get pregnant, not us. So it's when we do it, we're not thinking of that. We think we're invincible.
It just happens. I mean, it's not like, okay, this Saturday we're going to get together and we're going to go have sex.
That's
you know, like
a little
that
weird.
Just doesn't happen. So like you could say like, oh no, like I'm not planning to have sex, and then all of a sudden like, you know, it happens. And then if you're prepared, if you just have it with you, it's going to be an extra step, because we're talking about New Mexico being the highest rate in teen pregnancy.
So obviously the approach that we're taking isn't
not working.
Not working.
Yes, thank you. You know,
because it obviously didn't work for all of us, and we're a barely small percentage.
And I think that hearing us out is going to help reduce the rate of pregnancy, because we came through that situation. We know what teens are thinking.
Lauren, you've got a question.
My school has a clinic and a daycare. Why can't all schools have that?
How many of you go to schools or went to schools with clinics and daycare?
I fought to get my daycare. Because before, when I didn't have daycare, God, it was a mission to get to school. Because I'd take my daughter to school and then turn around and go back to school. And then if she would get sick, I couldn't stay there and watch her. I had to go to school, so I missed a bunch of school. I ended up dropping out, and now I'm like a year late of graduating. But since that now we have a clinic and a daycare at school, if she gets sick, I can just take her to the clinic and not have to leave school and get what she needed and take her back to school. Or it's just a lot easier with it on campus because you don't have to go and miss school and have to go to the daycare all the way on the other side of town because your kid has a fever. You know what I mean?
Clinics for both students and the babies of the students, the kids of the students. Do they provide birth control?
Birth control, I'm not sure, but they push you to where you need to go.
Yeah, they refer like a doctor or something. That's how mine was. Because that's where I took my pregnancy test. It was at school, and then I freaked out. But then after I had my baby, they referred me to take me to Presbyterian so I can get birth control so it doesn't happen again.
Senator, what do you think about the idea of having clinics and daycares in every school?
I don't think it's a good idea.
How come?
Well, I mean, the purpose of education is to teach, core subjects and offer electives to students. And we have a constitutional requirement to provide a sufficient education to the students in the state of New Mexico. So, there's some of the charter schools, I think, that are more independent, more autonomous, and they have programs built around helping young moms and young dads with their kids. And if they want to offer daycare centers on site, that's fine. And we do have a couple of alternative schools, but generally speaking, no. So we want to make sure that you guys get as much education as you can.
How is that possible if she's having trouble getting to school because she doesn't have that assistance she needs for her daughter, that convenience for her to get to school? But you want her to succeed.
So if I didn't have the early head start that my daughter has.
Did you go to New Futures?
I went to Independence.
No, or.
So that's the barrier. Like if that's the state, you guys are saying, well, we want these young kids to get educated, whether they are parents or not, but yet we're not providing them the tools necessary for them to reach that goal. How is that possible?
Let me ask the three of you, what are you going to take away when you guys leave here today? Juanita?
I think it's important for me to be able to do my job better, to hear about, when it's ready to serve and what might potential target population have to say about this. So I would certainly, number one, want the video to be reviewed with our unit and see what we can do differently to accommodate the needs. And I've heard advertisement is number one in terms of connected the services to what we need. Protect our fundings, number two. And number three, school-based health center is a good idea.
None of us is going to benefit if you don't graduate from high school, if you don't go to college, if your child doesn't have her well child exam once a year and get her immunization. That's going to hurt. And so for me, it solidified my commitment to working to educate people who can make a difference so that you do have the services. And I know we don't want to make this a norm. We really don't. But the reality in New Mexico is that we have over 4,500 births a year.
Senator?
I deeply respect, your commitment to make things work for your child. For me, prevention is, and I think we can all agree, prevention is a big topic. State of New Mexico, we spend a couple $100 million dealing with the effects of teen pregnancy every year. In terms of court costs, in terms of poverty prevention programs, education services, and stuff like that. So if you guys can help us understand how we can prevent more teen pregnancy, that's one thing I'm really interested in. The other thing is, I think we all, what I heard you guys say is, if I would have, if the father of my child, if we had a good relationship, a healthy relationship, if he was involved, if he was engaged, I would, and if we could get married and have two parents in the family, that's the ideal situation. I think for all of us that's really the ideal. And I understand it's not the way it is, but how can we move more young boys and girls toward understanding that is the ideal and making that happen so that we have intact families in the state of New Mexico.
Well, thank you all so much for being with us here today. Thank you.
It felt really good just to get it all out there, and just so other teens are aware of, that they're not alone through all of this.
I actually really enjoyed being able to see the different points of view from all the other teen parents.
I never heard this rich discussion, and actually, as a matter of fact, I thought back when I was under 20. Probably couldn't have said it better.
What I got out of that is that, that they're just trying to learn so they can know what they could do different to help us, and I respect that.
Some of it I didn't agree with what they said. One thing was the senator said that he thinks that parents should, instead of the schools giving birth control and stuff, that the parents should. But like we talked about, parents are scared too.
I think one thing that the state can change is probably having a lot more health education at school, because I didn't have no parents when I was there, so I didn't really get an education on how to prevent pregnancy and not have sex.
The adage in society is don't talk about politics, don't talk about your marriage, don't talk about religion. Well, the reality is, for most of us, those are the things that really matter.
I think the methods that we're taking now, I definitely do agree they're not working, because I don't even think this program would exist right now if everything was working. So I do think abstinence approach, it's nice, it's effective for some people, but it's not realistic.
The risk factors for becoming a teen parent are poverty, disconnect to school, and disconnect to family. So if we can hook these kids up and connect them to something that's bigger and more positive than where they're coming from, that's going to help give them a future.
5 years, I want a career, a house, and in 5 years, my daughter's going to be in elementary school. That's so crazy. So hopefully I'll be in a really good place in my life. That's my goal.
Thank you all for being here today. Join us for Public Square on the last Thursday of every month. To participate in Public Square and for more information, go to our website, knme.org/Public Square. Here you can give us feedback or suggest topics. Also look for us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching.